Hello YouTube, welcome back to the Basement Card Collector. Today's video is going to be the 6th episode of my Magic Number series. Today's video, we'll be looking at retired jersey numbers, but retired by more than one team. It's a very small club, and I have cards of all of the players and managers in this club. But before we show you who is in this small little historical club, I would like to give you a couple did you knows about jersey numbers and who started some of these trends and just who has some really interesting stats about jersey numbers and retired jersey numbers. So how about this? Do you know the first team to claim to be the first team that wore numbers on their jerseys? I have done some reading here the past few weeks, and so it's really kind of interesting. The New York Yankees say they were the first, and so do the Cleveland Indians of the 1929 season. They both claim to be the first one to have jerseys full-time on their unis. That was kind of cool. Do you know who the first player to have his number retired? To have the first retired number? His name, a very famous player named Lou Gehrig, was the first player to ever have his number retired. And for very good reason, his career was cut very, very short. And so Lou Gehrig was the first player. Let's put that guy on top. His number 4 for the New York Yankees. He was the first player to ever have that honor. So that's one answer. How about today? It's 2023. Do you have a guess of how many numbers are currently retired by Major League Baseball? All the teams. Around 150 was I've read a couple different stories, and some were recent, some were not so recent. We're going to say over 150 numbers have been retired. You can probably guess the MLB team with the most numbers retired. You guessed it, it's those New York Yankees. Pulled out a little, I like that's a cool Babe Ruth card. Just a picture of that big famous number 3. Back then, I've read this a few different places, but the reason that Lou Gehrig was number 4, he batted 4th in the lineup. And the reason that Babe Ruth was number 3, he batted number 3 in the lineup. And so they just issued numbers based on batting order, which I thought that was kind of cool. And then also, like today's players, you get all kinds of numbers that are really high and really low when you pick what you want. But back then, they just gave them to you 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 through 9. So I thought that was kind of interesting. The Yankees have the most retired numbers. The Canadians of the Montreal variety in the hockey world have 15. The Chicago Bears have 14 retired numbers. And there's one MLB team that has 0 retired jersey numbers. The Florida Marlins. I thought that was interesting. Now, granted, they're still very young and very new-ish, but still 0 numbers retired without counting Jackie Robinson, that is. Speaking of the man, there's Jackie Robinson. And some time ago, 42 has been retired by every major league team. So if you count that as the Marlin number, take out Jackie Robinson, and 0 Marlins have had their jersey retired. How about more of those Yankee infos? The Yankees have 22 numbers retired out in Monument, in center field with all the really cool looking monuments. How about this? They actually have 2 different players that both wore number 8. Mr. Bill Dickey from way back, and then Yogi, of course. I picked this Yoo-Hoo card, kind of cool. But anyway, they were both number 8s in those famous Yankee lineups. Kind of cool. Roberto Clemente also had a pretty cool fact. Do you know how he picked his number 21? And several players since then have picked number 21, kind of in honor of Roberto Clemente. But why he chose it way back when he first started, There are 21 letters in his first, middle, and last names combined. Roberto Clemente Walker equals 21 letters, so he chose 21, and then kind of the rest is history with that. So I thought that was kind of a neat little fact. And then a couple other little stats here. Joe DiMaggio is famous for being number 5 with those Yankees, but he started out wearing number 9. Mickey Mantle, the same Yankee great, same great from the same team, started out wearing number 6. Then, if you know his story, was sent down, kind of struggled for a minute. When he came back, he switched to that famous number 7, which is also retired by the Yankees. And then also Willie Mays started out as number 6 before he switched over to that famous number 24. All right, let's get to this magic number, the players that have their number retired by multiple teams. We're going to start out with, there's one player that has his number retired by 3 different teams. And if you looked at the background today on the episode, you can tell who that only player is. That is the great Nolan Ryan. And what I have here is the 1985 Topps. I don't know if it's called Super or Jumbo, but on the back, it's an actual 1985 Topps, just super enlarged. His number has been retired by the Houston Astros. And I also have this Topps Super Chrome. You can kind of see the shine there, of course, with the chrome, but that big leg kick number 34. And this is a super cool card for several reasons, but it has the career stats listed. And Nolan, of course, started with the Mets, which is ironically the only team he won that World Series ring with in the '69 season. And then the Angels, the Astros, the Rangers. He never picked up another ring. But we're going to set that back there. And so for the first player in this club, of this 12-player club, the only person with 3 teams to retire his jersey, Mr. Nolan Ryan. And so here I have a couple cards. This 78 Topps is really cool because I got this back when I was young, and I thought it would be worth $1 million one day, and it looked like it was 100 years old. But it's a great photo of that Angels in the 30, right there on the chest. That 34 is retired in Houston, and so I found this really cool star card. The 34 happens to be on his pant, like a softball jersey might be. And then I found 2 pretty cool 34 Nolans to go along with it. Here he is, tipping the cap. And that really cool Provision was really strong with the 34 on back. So our first player in this really cool club, Mr. Nolan Ryan. And the remaining players all have their number retired with 2 teams, and we're just going to run through a card of each team about the same player. So what we have here, I have a little list of, there are only 2 managers. 2 managers in the history of baseball have their number retired by 2 teams. First one we're going to show, Mr. Casey Stengel. Here we have a little, basically I need to pump up my Casey Stengel collection. Got some of the reprints here, but his number is retired by the Yankees and the Mets. And ironically, the only other card I could find was this Casey Stengel kind of play ball replica of 1983 version, but it's not him with those Yankees. So Casey Stengel, manager number 1. And the other manager, a little more recent, Mr. Sparky Anderson, is the second manager to have his number retired here by those Cincinnati Reds, the famous Big Red Machine. And he coached the Tigers, it seemed like, for another 40 or 50 years after he was in Cincinnati. This is our second manager and final manager that has the double retired jersey number. There's a relief pitcher, and I found 2 cards that match the teams that retired here. Raleigh Fingers' number has been retired by the A's back in those really cool 70s, and then also by the Brewers. Let's see if we can get some over here. What about next on the list of very recent, well, I say recent, in my mind it's been recent, Mr. Wade Boggs. And I tried to find a number very clear on a card to show for the video here. Wade Boggs and the 26 for those Red Sox, forever long Red Sox career. And then also the Devil Rays, which is what it was when he played for them, but now they're the Tampa Rays. They also retired his number 12, and here he is celebrating his 3,000th hit. I have to believe that's basically why they retired it, because he was only there for I think a season or maybe two. So Wade Boggs, a catcher that started off with a very basically, pretty common number 27. Carlton Fisk was 27 for the Boston Red Sox. He had an excellent career there, of course. And then he spent another portion of his career with the White Sox. And then when he came to Chicago, 27 was taken. And so he just flip-flopped 27. And then you can kind of see it on the back of that 89, switched from 27 to 72. And they're both retired by both clubs. Love that 89 tops. 3,000 hit club member. Started off with the Twins, went over to the Angels, 70s and 80s. Mr. Rod Carew, and this card kind of does both. So you can see there in 67, those Twins, really cool hair for those Angels. So I picked this one for the Rod Carew. And then here's a 74. I just couldn't get, I like that cage background, just standing outside the cage, doing work. Big slugger, big slugger, 500 home run. This one I did not know. I know Reggie Jackson as big number 44, just a slugger's number. Here he is out with the Yankees. They've retired his number 44, and his other team that retired his number, the Oakland A's. He originally started, this is something I learned, he was number 9 in that first go-round with the A's. Back in those 70s, they won 3 straight World Series, and he was a masher. Here you go, the 74 and the 78. So there's my Reggie Jackson. He also has a number retired by both squads as well. I'm going to put this on top. I'll just lay this Reggie back here. A no-doubter here, a 500 home run club guy again. He also has close to 3,000 hits. He was an MVP in both leagues, Mr. Frank Robinson. And again, I really need to pick up a playing day card of his, but Frank Robinson, his number 20, was retired with the Cincinnati Reds, and you can almost see it under the sleeve there. And for those Baltimore Orioles, what a beast, Frank Robinson. Let's put that red right there. And we have 2 more players that are in this exclusive club. This one is not a recent, well, he's about the most recent guy in this club, I suppose. Mr. Greg Maddux. And I picked 2 cards that not are often shown when we speak of him or show him, but this really cool Pinnacle Naturals card. I mean, it just had some shine before shine was cool. And then here he is on my Cubbies with that 31. He also has the number 31 retired by both clubs. Hall of Famer, all of the Cy Youngs. And a really cool story that makes me laugh when I think about it. I'm a Cubs fan, and my family, we go on vacation, and we were leaving the beach one day. We are carrying all the stuff up from the beach. If you know what I mean, then you know what I mean. Chairs and blankets and bags and all that stuff. And I have a Cubs hat on, and I'm going to the car. And a guy that we've never met is walking to the beach with a Braves hat on. Never met this guy before, and all he says is, "Hey, thanks." I'm like, excuse me? He's like, "Hey, thanks. Hey, thanks for giving us Greg Maddux for nothing back after that 92 season." So it was just more of a story of, I'm like, man, you're right. You got one of the best pitchers ever, and we just basically let him walk. So anyway, Greg Maddux is in this club as well. Let's put him right here. Back up old Ridge. And the last player that's in this club is number 44. I don't have a great example of the second team that retired his number 44, but it's Mr. Hank Aaron. And this 44, this hologram is one of the coolest cards. I did have this when I was young, and I traded it away for something, and I don't remember. And just recently, I picked this up not long ago at the card shop. So his 44 has been retired with the Braves, and then also with the Milwaukee Brewers. The Braves back then, of course, were also in Milwaukee, so they retired that big 44 as well. And then that's the club, folks. 12 total players from those MLB historical record books. All of those numbers that are retired, and only 12 players / managers have had their number retired by more than one team. Nolan Ryan is the only player with 3, and the rest of the folks you see here were all retired by 2 separate teams. So this will conclude the 6th episode of my Magic Numbers. This version, the retired jersey numbers by multiple teams. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.